Consider a girl who keeps slipping off, arms as limp as old carrots, into the hypnotist's trance, into a spirit world, speaking with the gift of tongues. She is stuck in the time machine, suddenly 2 years old, and sucking her thumb as inward as a snail. Learning to talk again, she is on a voyage. She is swimming further and further back, up like a salmon struggling into her mother's pocketbook. In her poetry, Anne Sexton explores both the mental and emotional scarring that her childhood molestation by her father has caused her. Only through extensive therapy sessions and her writing of poetry was she able to even begin to deal with what has happened to her. Briar Rose, Sleeping Beauty, and The Moss of His Skin by Anne Sexton. Little doll child, come here to Papa. I have kisses for the back of your neck. A penny for your thoughts, princess. I will hunt them like emeralds. Come, be my Snooky, and I will give you a root. That kind of voyage, rank as honeysuckle. Once upon a time, a king had a christening for his daughter, Briar Rose. And because he had only 12 gold plates, he asked only 12 fairies to the grand event. The 13th fairy, her fingers as long and thin as straws, her eyes burnt by cigarettes, and her uterus an empty teacup, arrived with an evil gift. She made this prophecy: the princess shall prick herself on a spinning wheel in her 15th year, and then fall down kaput. The court fell silent. The king looked like Munich's scream. Fairies' prophecies in times like those held water. However, the 12th fairy had a certain kind of eraser, and thus she mitigated the curse, changing that death into 100 years' sleep. The king ordered every spinning wheel exterminated and exorcised. Briar Rose grew up to be a goddess. And each night the king bit the hem of her gown to keep her safe. He fastened the moon up with a pin to give her perpetual light, and forced every male in the court to scrub his tongue with babo, lest they poison the air she dwelt in. Thus she dwelt in his odor, rank as honeysuckle. On her 15th birthday, she pricked her finger on the charred spinning wheel, and the clock stopped. Yes, indeed, she fell asleep. The king and the queen went to sleep. The courtiers, the flies on the walls, the fire on the hearth grew still, and the roast meat stopped crackling. The trees turned into metal, and the dog became china. They all lay in a trance, each a catatonic. Stuck in a time machine, even the frogs were zombies. Only a bunch of briar roses grew, forming a great wall of tacks around the castle. Many princes tried to go through the brambles, but they had heard much of Briar Rose. But they had not scoured their tongues, so they were held by the thorns, and thus were crucified. In due time, 100 years passed, and a prince got through. The briars parted as if for Moses, and the prince found the tableau intact. He kissed Briar Rose, and she woke up crying, "Daddy! Daddy!" Presto, out of prison. She married the prince, and all went well, except for the fear of sleeping. Briar Rose was an insomniac. She could not nap or lie and sleep without the court chemist mixing her some knockout drops. And never in the prince's presence. "If it is to come," she said, "sleep must take me unawares, while I am laughing or dancing, so that I do not know that brutal place, where I lie down and with cattle prods and the hole in my cheek open. Further, I must not dream, for when I do, I see the table set and a faltering crone in my place, her eyes burnt by cigarettes as she eats betrayal like a slice of meat. I must not sleep, for when I sleep I am 90, and I think I'm dying. Death rattles in my throat like a marble. I wear tubes for earrings, and I lie as still as an iron bar. You can stick a needle through my kneecap, and I won't flinch. I'm all shot up with Novocaine. This trance girl is yours to do with. You could lay her in a grave, an awful package, and shovel dirt on her face, and she never come back. Hello there! But if you kissed her on the mouth, her eyes would spring open, and she'd call out, Daddy, Daddy! Presto, out of prison. There was a theft. That much I am told. I was abandoned. That much I know. I was forced backwards and forward, and I was passed hand to hand like a bowl of fruit. Each night I am nailed into place, and I forget who I am. Daddy, it was only important to smile and hold still, to lie down beside him and rest for a while, to be folded up together as if we were silk, to sink from the eyes of mother and not to talk. The black room took us like a cave or a mouth or an indoor belly. I held my breath, and Daddy was there. His thumbs, his fat skull, his teeth, his hair growing like a field or a shawl. I lay by the moss of his skin until it grew strange. My sisters will never know that I fell out of myself and pretended that Allah will not see how I hold my daddy like a stone tree. That's another kind of prison. It's not a prince at all. But my father drunkenly bends over my bed, circling the abyss like a shark. My father thick upon me like some sleeping jellyfish. What voyage is this, little girl? This coming out of prison? God help. This life after death.